This week on Unglossy.
So I go get in my car and I feel like I got to run an errand. And I call my mama as I'm backing out my garage. I'm like, Mama, like, you'll never believe this. Like, I just won a Pulitzer. She said, oh, that's great, baby. What's that?
From the top.
Yeah.
I'm Tom Frank.
I'm Mickey Fax.
And I'm Jeffrey Sledge.
Welcome to Unglossy, decoding brand and culture. I'm Tom Frank, partner and chief creative officer at Merrick Creative. This is Mickey Fax, hip-hop artist and founder and CEO of Pendulum Inc. And that is Jeffrey Sledge, a seasoned music industry veteran who has worked with some of the biggest artists in the business. We're here to explore the moments of vulnerability, pivotal decisions, and creative sparks that fuel the relationship between brand and culture. Get ready for a thought-provoking journey into the heart and soul of branding, the unscripted, unfiltered, and truly unglossy truth. Welcome back, fellas. Welcome back, world. It's been a minute since our last Unglossy recording.
Happy New Year. I went and got my guy Tom on my wall. Look at that, man.
Nah, yeah. I don't know why you think that's me on your wall. For those who can't see, it's a guy with hair and a mustache.
This is you back in the 80s, man.
Back in the 80s.
You was in the club.
I guess so. Yeah. All right, some exciting news. Based on the success of this show in our first season, we're now rolling into season 2, starting today, right? Plus, we have an expanded network of shows here at Merrick Studios. I'm going to run through them real quick.
Okay, that's it.
We got mixed and mastered with our very own Jeffrey Sledge, where he dives deep into the journeys, challenges, and triumphs of the people shaping the sound of music yesterday and today. How about that, Jeffrey Sledge? And tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm
excited about that.
We got a bunch of recordings already ready. They're going to be coming out soon.
Yeah. I'm excited about that one. I think we're on to something here that's going to be a nice run. A nice run. A lot of good stories coming out.
We got Pitch Lab, which I host with a former guest of this show, Classic. That is a brand session with CEOs and founders who are hustling to take their companies to the next level with a little magic at the end. We interview these guys, and then we create a punchy, fun 30-second content piece for them. Very good stuff. Very good stuff. Our first guest was a guy who runs a place called Coffee Black. And sure enough, the first thing out of his mouth was, please say hello to Mickey Fax for me.
Oh, man. What's up?
So I'm saying hello
What's
right
up,
now.
Bro? Thank you.
Can't get away from you no matter where I go.
You popping out here.
I'm all right.
We got Place Shapers, which is hosted by my colleague and friend, Todd Feidelman, which features candid conversations with the real estate industry's top movers and shapers, visionaries shaping the spaces where people live, work, and connect. All these shows brought to you by Merrick Studios.
Merrick Studios.
And lastly, we cannot forget about Pendulum Inc., which is about to celebrate its 3rd graduation with an entire week dedicated to hip-hop. Tell us a little bit about that week, starting with our celebrity lecture.
Yeah, man, we got my guy Tretch pulling up February 26th. It should be good on Zoom. Make sure you guys get your tickets for that. That's going to be appearing, on our website, penduluminc.com. And then we have our Pendulum Inc. Showcase Open Mic Cypher on March 1st, headlined by myself and Corey Guns, with Pete Rock playing beats, hosted by Sonny Anderson, and DJ'd by DJ Evil D. Should be great. We got some surprise celebrity guests pulling up to rap on the mic with some up-and-coming artists. It should be dope. It's a brand new endeavor I'm trying to put together. And we already halfway sold out pre-sale tickets, so I feel good about that. And last but not least, we got our graduation happening Sunday, March 2nd, private event, but it's very special, commencement speaker.
Don't give it away yet.
Don't give it away yet.
Don't give it away yet.
All right.
So we got a lot going on here, and we're back with Unglossy.
Exactly.
We had a very, very cool guest to kick off season 2.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this guy a lot.
That's my guy Mitch.
My man, Money Mitch.
Money making Mitch, man.
Yep. Pulitzer Prize-winning.
A Pulitzer Prize-winner.
Yeah, I mean, we're racking them up here, Tom. We got to get a Grammy Award winner in here. Then we have to get a Tony Award winner in here. And then, we'll get the EGOT, right? I got a plug on a Tony Award winner. Actually, a girl, she's not a girl. She's a grown, but a girl I went to college with. She's like really big. I'm gonna reach out.
So wait a minute, though. We've had a Pulitzer. We've had an Oscar.
Oscar.
We've had an NBA championship.
Yeah.
We had it. Yep, we had an Emmy,
An Emmy.
right? The Emmy was the chef, right?
Oh no, I thought he was an Oscar.
That's an Emmy.
Was
He
that
did
an
an Emmy,
Oh, that
right?
was an. Well, it's the same thing.
No, Emmy and an Oscar is two different things.
So we've had an Emmy.
Marcus won an Emmy.
He won
Marcus
an
won
Emmy.
an Emmy. Yeah,
All
Marcus
right,
won an
all
Emmy.
right.
He
I
won
Who
stand
won the
corrected.
Oscar? Who won an Oscar?
I don't know who won an Oscar. We need an
we
Oscar.
haven't had an Oscar person yet.
All right.
So we need an Oscar and a Grammy and a
We
Tony.
should- now you would think that we can get a Grammy.
You know, I gotta start flexing. You know,
You gotta
season
flex a
two.
little bit, B. You've been kind of light.
Season
man.
two
You've been light.
is season two. I might have to, get a little jiggy on y'all. You know, I might have to
Yeah,
get a little.
maybe.
You know, I might have to call Jermaine Dupri. I might have to call Jermaine Dupri for one. Man.
You have a lot of phone
You'd be
calls to
fire.
make.
Jermaine Dupri will be fire.
That'd be the Grammy one. You know what
All
I mean?
right, let's get a Grammy.
I'm gonna
on.
reach out to my,
Let's get a Grammy.
All right,
reach
let's
out to my
dive into
college-
our Pulitzer.
roommate. Yeah, it's good.
Right now.
Pulitzer winner. Yeah.
This guy was good. Mitchell S. Jackson.
Mitch.
Smicky.
Unglossy is brought to you by Merrick Creative. Looking to skyrocket your business's visibility and drive growth? At Merrick Creative, we solve your brand and marketing woes. With big ideas, decades of experience, and innovative solutions, we'll draw in your target audience and keep them hooked. Remember, creativity is key to success. Partner with Merrick Creative and unlock your brand's potential. Learn more at merrickcreative.com. And now, back to the show.
Today's guest on Unglossy, fellas, is Mitchell S. Jackson. He's the winner of the 2021 Pulitzer Prize and National Magazine Award in feature writing. His debut novel, The Residue Years, received a Whiting Award and the Ernest J. Gaines Prize for Literacy Excellence. While his essay collection, Survival Math, was named a Best Book of 2019 by 15 publications, his latest book, which we're going to get way into, Fly, the Big Book of Basketball Fashion, hit the USA Today bestseller list and was praised by the New York Times as elevating basketball style to high fashion status. Beyond his writing, Mitchell holds major fellowships and teaches at Arizona State University, while also contributing to the New York Times Magazine and Esquire. We're thrilled to have him here. Welcome, Mitchell.
Thank you.
Mitch.
Mighty Mitch.
Yo, I see you got the Tom Brown on the low though. I'm gonna let you cook though.
I had to do it for you, man.
Yeah, I see. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? The first thing me and Mitch do is check out what we're wearing. Okay, all right, I see you, nigga. Since we first met, it's been like that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like an author. He looks like an author. You two don't look like an author. He looks like an author.
I definitely don't look like an author at all. You know?
I'm an author, by the way.
You are an author, Mickey Fax. There we go. Wait, so now you're talking to us from Arizona State.
Yeah.
You're in the Mountain Time District where we were. That was throwing us all off.
Yeah, me too.
Now, how long you been teaching out there now?
This is my 4th year.
Oh, it's been a minute.
Yeah, man. I left New York and went to, I was teaching at University of Chicago. It was a pandemic year though, so it was kind of weird because I never actually taught a class on campus. We were all Zoom. And then I ended up leaving to come here before I taught my 2nd year there. Yeah, but I thought when I left New York, like Chicago was going to be it.
That was home base.
Wait, so you never stepped foot into a classroom at the University of Chicago for the first year you were there, and then you're gone?
Wow. And then I was gone. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What made you go to Arizona State other than the weather?
Man, they make you an offer you can't refuse. You
Bread?
don't
The bread shit, you figure it out with the bread.
Yeah.
So now you grew up in Portland, Oregon, though, right? You're a West Coast kid.
I am a West Coast guy. Yeah, man. That's actually how me and Sledge met. Now I was counting back. It's like 20. It's over 20 years. It's like
I was trying to figure out how long it was. I was like, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Since
I moved to New York in 2002, and you were one of the first people that I met when I moved to New York.
Yeah.
So I have a friend, a big homie named Ramon Blackburns, got his own store, had a fashion line back then, had moved to New York like maybe 3-4 years before me. And so that he was like my kind of entree into New York and the fashion scene and, music scene a little bit. I came out there for graduate school, NYU, in the fall of 2002.
Wow. Yeah, it's been a long time, man.
What do you do, Jeffrey? Just walk the streets?
Ramon,
because It seems like everybody says they meet you. The first person they meet in New York is Jeffrey Sledge.
Well, two things. Sidebar: Ramon, actually, his store, Chris Atlas, is a partner in that store.
Oh,
now,
wow.
yeah, in Jersey. Chris has been
Small
on the show
world.
as well. And then we have a mutual friend, Ozzy. Ozzy actually saw him Christmas time when I was home, and Ozzy was deep into fashion, and he was working with Ramon on some stuff. And I'd always go by Ozzy's office and hang out, and just kick it or whatever. And Ramon would come by with Mitch, and we all just started kicking it that way in Osby's office on the fashion district, 40-something street in the fashion district in New York. Yep.
Man, I almost ran up on a dude that I thought was Ozzy at Art Basel, just whatever Basel was like a couple months ago. I could have sworn it was Ozzy, and I hadn't seen him in a minute. I was like, Ozzy. And you like, oh, my bad, bro.
My bad.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. So I knew you played ball out in Phoenix, in Portland, too.
Yeah, Portland. Yeah. I mean, I stopped at junior college ball, but my partners was, most of my friends played Division I college basketball. Half of them played overseas.
Okay.
A couple of them played in the league, and one was Rookie of the Year. So it's heavy basketball in Portland,
Rookie
Oregon.
of the Year. Now you can't just stop there. Who was the Rookie of the Year?
Damon Stoudemire.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So wait, now he coached Georgia Tech now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He does.
Yeah, and he coached in the pros football. He was with this.
Yeah, he was
he coached the
assistant coach
Celtics,
at
right?
Boston. Yep.
Yeah, Boston. Yeah.
Ime. So Ime was my high school teammate, the coach.
Really?
Well, now he's Boston, yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know he
he
was
was-
from Portland too. Okay.
Yeah, he started with me. It's crazy because Ime was like the third best basketball player in his family. His brother was the same year as me. We played freshman basketball together. Then he had
This must have been a heck of a high school team.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
And then his sister played in the WNBA early, like maybe
Wow.
one of the first draftees, yeah, and played in the Olympics for Nigeria.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So tell us about the whole, because I gave Tom a brief overlook of your story.
Yeah.
How you played ball and
Yeah.
kind of got to the streets a little bit and figured that out. So kind of break it down, for us.
Man, I had a young lady who used to call me street nerd back in the day. She was the only person that called it to me, but I thought it was such a apt nickname because I was always like half in, half out. Like I was an honor roll student. I just showed maybe like 6 months ago, I showed my friends, I had a little plaque. I was like 4.0 student scholar athlete in high school. And then I was also, selling dope on the side. But if you go back a generation, all of my family, not all of my family, that's not true. My father, his brothers, my stepfather, all of them diehard hustlers. So I grew up around that. So it didn't really seem like that much of a stretch by the time I got to high school and started hustling. My mother, I'm from the crack era, so my mother was struggling with addiction. And I was around it and kind of demystified it by going out and doing it on my own. I never was like, I think if you're going to be a good hustler, like you got to commit. I never committed, but I made enough to, go get my little Lexus and Maroli and all that shit, but I wasn't no kingpin.
Yeah. But yeah. And so what happened? I know you got caught. You did a little stretch. So what happened exactly?
Yeah, man, I got caught. I was in college. So crazy because now they're trying to kill diversity and inclusion. And my scholarship was the Underrepresented Minority Achievement Scholarship. It was called UMass, Portland State University. That's how I got. They were paying for my tuition, and they actually held that scholarship while I was in prison. So I was able to come back, finish my degree. I mean, if I didn't have that scholarship, I don't know. I'm taking lefts when I could have.
And they held that for you? That's kind of impressive.
The way I did 16 months. So the way it worked out was if you count the summer break in a whole school year, that's what it was. So I just told them I got a family emergency. I need to unenroll for this year of school. So I didn't tell them I was going to the penitentiary, but they still did hold it for that length of time. And that really was like the most important decision of my life was going back to school. And while I was locked up, I started writing a little bit. And then, so I got out in 98. And then I went to graduate school in Portland in 2002 for writing. And so that's around that time is when in 2000. And that's when I decided I don't know if I decided I was going to be a writer, but I decided I was going to write a book, which I think are two different things. To write a book and to actually claim a writer as your identity is a different thing. So
I'm
go
pretty
ahead.
impressed that, I mean, I got to imagine coming out of jail and making that decision to go back to school. I mean, because that could have went many different ways. Like what was kind of the thought part? I mean, how did that come about?
Well, no options or feeling like I had less options. You know, you go to jail. If you smart, you do know that your options have just been restricted, right? So a whole lot of things you can't do. It was easy for me to go. They were holding a scholarship.
Yeah.
It was part of my identity. I was always a good student, so I did that. I didn't want to work. There was that too. But I also feel like it's a great thing to be part of a small community, because people that knew me as a basketball player or a good student or a drug dealer. And so it was really easy to kind of shed the part that least belonged to me and to enter into those identities that were felt more genuine or real parts of me. So to go back to school and do well was a thing that I had done my whole life. So it wasn't as hard as you think.
So when you went, were people supportive, or was some cats kind of like hating on you, like kind of like, oh man, you know, how was that? What was that? What was that?
You know, I was joking with, I had a big homie, this dude named LG. So I knew him from the streets, but he came maybe like I was like, I don't know, 9-10 months into my sentence. And I was in a dorm, and he, like on transport day with everybody coming in, they roll up shit, and I was sitting by the door playing dominoes with somebody, and he didn't know I was down. So he come in and he got his bedroll and everything, and he's like, Mitchell, like, what are you doing here? I said, time, nigga, same as you is. Come on and sit down and play dominoes. And I him 150 to zip that day. And when I tell you, 30 years later, I still be like, LG, that time I beat you 150 to zip. Well, I tell that story because the shock on his face when he saw me was like, you don't belong here.
Yeah.
And that I kept that with me. Like, I don't belong. Like, it's a dude that don't belong in prison that'll go to prison and be like, well, I'm here now. Like, let me go ahead and handle my business. I was not that dude. Like, I was going to survive it, but I wasn't like, I'm of it.
Yeah, you was always looking out the front door.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you did survive it. Like, I can't even imagine. I mean,
I can't imagine.
I don't know if I would survive 18 months or what.
18 minutes.
Well, you would if they gave it to you.
No choice.
You ain't got no choice.
You can't do it till you get it.
Yeah. Then you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know?
So how far did you dive into writing when you were there? I mean, I assume writing could easily pass a lot of time.
I didn't really dive in it until I was getting close to going home. So two things. One, I just kind of passed time for most of the time. So I was playing a lot of dominoes. I play pool. We had weights, but somebody at another prison hit a dude in the head with a weight, and they took the weights from him. So we couldn't. All the Oregon prisons got weights taken. So I was like on calisthenics and stuff. And then when I knew I was getting close to going home, I was like, oh, I need to prepare my brain for going back to school and being a student. Like, I haven't been like intellectually engaged. I didn't use that kind of language, but I'm like, I need to get my mind ready for that. So that's when I started reading. We had like a little bookshelf, and I started reading. And then the other thing was, a lot of guys, you know, you start telling your story in prison. And if somebody wrote my story down, it'll be a this and that. So I was like, I had that same kind of mentality, except that I actually did start writing my story down. And then the last thing was, I used to play a lot of ball, and they was like, the old heads was like, man, when you get short, you can't play no more ball, because they'll try to do something to you out there, either to hurt you or to make you lose your time. So they're not going for a pole. So you mad, and now you ain't going home now. So I was like, all right, I ain't playing no more ball.
That's smart. That's smart. Yeah. You gotta really, towards the end, you just really kind of stayed to yourself and just started writing.
Hell yeah. Nah, I'm going home.
Yeah, you get out of this joint.
Catch me out.
So how was the transition going, like your first few semesters or whatever in college. How was that coming out of that?
Man, so great. It was like it was normal, man. And, I had a little bit of money saved, so I wasn't like dead broke. I still had my jewelry and my shit. And I had a woman, man. Man, she held me like she never missed a visit the whole time I was. Every visiting week she was there. I mean, I used to sit out my window and look, and then it got to the point where dudes that didn't really even know me would see her parking and be like, "Hey, man, your lady outside, man. Here she come." So that really got me through to have somebody. It's so crazy because I'm doing an event tomorrow with this woman, Kiana Harris, who I met like some years ago, and I can't remember how much she did, but her partner did like maybe a dub or something. Like he was stretched out, and she did time with him.
The whole dub.
I don't know if it was a dub. It might have been like 15, whatever. Well, it was over a decade.
It was a long time.
Yeah, and she did it with him. And so I think about that, like what it means to have someone who, from the outside, who is showing you every week they care about you, that you're not forgotten out here. And my time is not like, I ain't doing no dime or nothing, but like that shit is so important. So I had that also when I came home, and I really, that probably was the bedrock of how I got through the time.
That's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting.
20 years. What's because I want to move away from the prison kind of talk.
Yeah, for sure.
But being there for 16 to 18 months, from a outside looking in, what do you feel like you missed the most when you got back out?
Man, I don't think I miss that much. I mean, you miss it while you gone. Like you miss, I mean, I used to listen to the radio and imagine what the club was doing on Saturday night, or there's pictures, like I've had the same friend since I was freshman in high school. And so there's pictures that they'll still reshare, and it'll be from the time when and I'm like, damn, it'll remind me, I was gone. I wasn't at that thing that y'all talking about that was so, and they're resharing shit 30 years later. So obviously it was meaningful to them. So there are those moments. But I think to kind of even segue us into the present, one thing that prison did for me was it let me know I can handle any adversity.
Oh, yeah.
And there's nothing more dehumanizing than bend over, cough, and spread them when you in prison. Like there ain't nothing more humiliating, dehumanizing. And I think if you can get past that and maintain a sense of also compassion and empathy and humanity and get on the other side of that, like when you experience something in the world, you like, man, whatever. I remember my homeboy came home. We were best friends when we were young, and he I think he did 16. So he came to New York when he was talking, and he was like, yeah, man, I was out there, man. This little homie was talking crazy to me, man. I got him in the rec room and just jabbed him up real quick. And I was like, what? Whoa, like, huh? He said it like,
you felt like it's normal.
Yeah.
He felt like he went to.
And I was like, this my dog from first grade on, and he said that shit like he kissed the dude on the cheek or something. He like, yeah, I got real good and kept it going. And I was like, oh, we're different now. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if I could just talk about it like ain't nothing happening, Right. So I think it shows you things about yourself, right? So when I'm in the university and I'm experiencing, say, some kind of adversity with my dean or with a colleague or something, like in my mind, I go back to like, well, let's compare these two things, man. Like one is freedom and humanity and humility and your manhood. And the other thing is about whether or not you want to show up at this meeting. I'll take whether or not I want to show up at this meeting every time.
Every day of the week. Yeah. So how long did it take you to write the first novel? Because it was something else before Residue, right? Was it?
Yeah, I did Oversoul. But Oversoul was really kind of after, even though it came out before, I was working on Residue. Residue, I say, is a book it's the book that I decided to write. So it was the pages that I brought home from prison. Then it was my first MFA, so my first graduate thesis. Then it was my second graduate thesis. And then it took I finished graduate school at NYU in 2004. It took another 10 years. So I worked on that book like 15 years before it actually got published. And again, there are lessons, right? Will you stick with something for 15 years? I came to New York. All that time you knew me, I was working on that book. Literally the
years
whole
to be an overnight sensation.
Yeah, it's nothing, And the crazy thing is, like, I was just thinking about Doshi, right? I'm like, she popping now. She definitely getting, she had the Super Bowl performance. I'm sure she getting 20, 30 racks a performance, right? So, like, it's a very real chance she's a millionaire now. I won damn near every award you can win when that book came out. I was not anywhere near a millionaire, right? So even the success that you experience as a writer, there's really no equal to it because it takes the same or more amount of time, right? 15 years. They gave me $17,500 as a book advance for that book. So if you can imagine $17,000 for 15 years of work, like that math ain't mathing,
basically $1,000 a year, a little more than $1,000 a year, basically.
Yeah. And then you're not. It ain't like you could start it. Like, I think about a music artist. Like I obviously everybody been talking about Kendrick, right? Like if you were to take Kendrick's first two albums and where he was after his first two albums, and you put Survival Math and Residue and What Happened for Me in the book world, they're basically the same narrative. Like it's the same. We're equals in our different genres, except that one genre you're an international music star who's a multimillionaire, and the other one you're like, man, I don't know if I should take this gig for $5,000 to go speak over here, right? So it's really interesting, like the value we put in the different worlds.
So
it is crazy, yeah.
So, well, I want to get deep into the Residue thing. So I watched the documentary too, by the way, which was
yeah.
That was super dope. It really explained it well. Like, so, what was the kind of your motivation behind writing the book? Was obviously to tell your right story, but what else?
Man, it was to make. Okay, there was two things. One, it was to show that I could transform my experience into art. So I really early on, it was like a fork. It was like, I can write a hood book. That's when, remember they used to sell the hood books on 125th and, I hand to hand. I could be that.
Yeah.
Or I could get on in my mind, the Toni Morrison path, right? Like you can get on the acclaim and you might win a Pulitzer someday and so that's a different path. Like you got to really study. You may or may not crack. You may or may not sell some books. And so I decided that I was going to be on that path, which meant I really had to be able to change, to transform the experience into something that's artful. So there's a lot of like sentence making and the stuff that Mickey is really talking about in the school, right? Like how do you, I wouldn't call it like a triple entendre or anything, but like I'm learning it down to that level of nuance in the Residue Years. And then there's the experience. So there's the kind of making sense of it. There's also the like, but this also has to be art. Because if I don't make sense of it, my whole life, they're going to be like, oh man, you had a mama that was on dope and you went to prison like shit. And so I'm going to be in that lane. And then that becomes, for me, my currency. Yeah. And I didn't want that to be my currency for the next 20 years. I wanted you to say, man, this guy's a real artist. And he happens to have this experience that informed these first 2 or 3 books or whatever. But, if I'm writing about NBA basketball and they say that's artful, that ain't got shit to do with my mama being on dope.
Not at
really.
all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all, yeah.
I felt really fortunate that Residue was like how I made sense of my personal experience. Survival Math was how I made sense of my community and the history that shaped Black people in Oregon. So to me, those two things were like, okay, I said what I needed to say about this, and now where are we going after that?
And we'll be right back.
Master the art of lyricism with Pendulum Mink, the first school for rap. Learn elite techniques through immersive lessons, real-world exercises, and guidance from hip-hop icons. This is where MCs sharpen their skills and glow boldly on the mic. Ready to level up? Visit pendulummink.com and start your journey today.
And now, back to the show.
Might be skipping forward a little bit, but like, where were you? Like, how did it happen when you received the
Pulitzer?
The Pulitzer.
Yeah, how does that happen? Do you just get a letter in the mail, or somebody show up at your house?
So the crazy thing about that was pandemic year. I was living in Chicago, so it was sheltering. And that year, because of the pandemic, they had moved the National Magazine Awards and the Pulitzer. No, they moved the National Magazine Award. So it was actually the day before the Pulitzer. So the ceremony was virtual for the National Magazine Award. It was like this, and I'm on there with all the Runners World people and the big Hearst executives. And they announced, the winners, Mitchell Jackson and Ahmaud Arbery. I'm like, oh shit, like this is crazy. And I remember I got off after we had got off the call, I got an email from the head of publicity for Hearst. And he said, Mitchell, I just want you to know that this is our Oscar. Because I didn't have any really perspective of the magazine award. So I'm like, oh shit, like this is crazy. Now this is, say, 7 or 8 p.m. Chicago time that this is an evening ceremony. So the next morning or the next afternoon in New York, they're doing the Pulitzers. I knew they were doing it, and there are maybe 2 or 3 people that have won both. So I'm like, there's a remote possibility that this could happen, but I do not want to stress myself out. So right before I know that the ceremony is happening, I'm like, I'll just take a nap.
Wow.
I lay down, and then I get a call from my homeboy who went to NYU with me. He had won a Pulitzer in poetry maybe like 4 years prior. He never called me. So I pick up. I'm like, what's up, man? He said, man, congratulations. I said, man, congratulations about what? He said, man, you just won a Pulitzer. You don't know? I said, get the fuck out of here. He like, nah, man, you go check. So I go online and the Pulitzers do it. It was on Twitter. That's how I found out.
Wow.
I'm looking on Twitter and I'm like, man, this can't be true. This can't, like, maybe they lying. And so it took a lot of verifying for me to believe it. But yeah, I got the call. His name is Tyemba Jess. I don't know what year he won a Pulitzer, maybe 2015. He was the one that called me and said, man, congratulations. I will never forget that.
Wow.
And because both of those things happened within 24 hours. That had never happened to anyone because the ceremonies were never back to back before. They're always
together.
like,
yeah.
So you had no idea you were going to win, but I mean, you thought maybe you had an outside chance, but you really didn't think necessarily you were going to get either one.
Yeah, well, I knew I was the National Magazine Awards, they announced finalists. Actually, tomorrow they announced the finalists for this year. So you're a finalist and you're going to the ceremony. With the Pulitzer, you have no idea. They announce finalists and winners same day. They're not giving you no email or nothing. It's just you find out when the world find out.
Wow.
Do you get anything? Do you get a certificate, statue? What do you get?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to see the statue. You got one?
Here we go. Let's see it.
Man, we've had an Academy Award. We've had an Academy Award on here, right?
Yep.
And now,
Wow.
You get a little sheet or something, but this is the little thing they give you here.
The little trophy. That's dope.
I want to say, I think this is made by Tiffany.
Probably.
Whoa. But yeah, you get that and some other stuff. But I remember going to the ceremony because they did it super late, and they had the little gift bags when we was leaving, and it had Tiffany gift bag, and I'm walking out like a real black person. I'm like, oh, hold on, man, I gotta get my gift bag.
Yo, what gift bag at?
Hey, I don't think you should limit that to just black people. I would have done the exact same thing. That's how I was raised. Grab 2 of those bags.
Let me get two.
Exactly. Let me get an extra one from my dad.
So wait, how did your world change after winning? Like that's like you said, this Oscar level award in journalism and writing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. Well, 2 things. One, one of the most, no, it wasn't most humbling, but I remember that after the Pulitzer, I'm like in disbelief. I'm walking around just literally like, I can't believe this. And also I'm in Chicago, so it ain't like I got no partners around me. I'm just me and my lady is out there. So I go get in my car and I feel like I got to run an errand. And I call my mama as I'm backing out my garage. I'm like, mama, like, you'll never believe this. Like, I just won a Pulitzer. She said, oh, that's great, baby. What's that? So that immediately I was like, well, the world don't care about this shit. Like I do, the world don't care. So that was one thing. And then I think again, we just don't have the same, like an accomplished / I don't think that there is really such a thing as writer fame. So if you think about it, like I remember I used to teach at John Jay for a little while, and they had an event with Stephen King. They had tables like lined up, maybe like 60 feet of books, stacked like 4 or 5 books high. I mean, this had to be thousands of books that he couldn't have signed all of them, but I mean, they were giving them away. Stephen King walk in there, walk right past the books, like nobody is like losing their mind
over Stephen King.
You know, James Patterson walk down my block right now. No one probably but me would recognize, you know, so like,
yeah.
I think this idea of writer fame does not exist. Now, writer accomplishment, like you go into a room full of writers, obviously I know who Colson Whitehead is. I know who Ta-Nehisi Coates is. I know Imani Perry. I know Roxane Gay. But this idea that your life flips, you know, like that, like all the artists that you were with when you watch, you know, Tip and them, you know, in the beginning of their career, they can walk into Jive, nobody saying shit, you know, then they get popping, they come into Jive. Not everybody want to come to the office. Like that just is not happening with us. So I think it's a really great thing if you're humble about it, because it allows you to keep doing what you do without the intervention of celebrity.
So even if you're a New York Times best-selling author, you know, that's not that. Even that is not, you know, what's equal to okay.
Because if you think about it, James Patterson, right? I got a ton of James Patterson books behind me.
Exactly. You know,
if he were to walk down, I don't know if I'd know him if he like stood right next to me at the bus stop. I have no idea who he is.
So I went to this. I'm not going to mention her name because, well, maybe I will mention her name. I went to this dinner. It was this writer named Min Jin Lee, who's a really cultural figure. Like she's a great person. This is in New York. This is maybe last fall, and it's me and a bunch of writers and like other cultural figures there, and it's me, Jelani Cobb from the New Yorker, and it's another writer there. And this writer that is there is literally the top-selling memoirist of all time. I mean, more than Michelle Obama's beloved. So, I mean, y'all can probably do the research and figure out who this is, right? So me, her, and Jelani are sitting on the couch. Now, I know her because we hung out a little bit, and Jelani is the guy at the New Yorker, right? The black guy at the New Yorker, runs Columbia's journalism program. He's on the Pulitzer board. I mean, there really is no bigger kind of literary figure in the culture than Jelani. And Jelani is like looking over and he's like, hey, yeah, so, are you a writer? And she's like, yeah, I'm a writer. Now, this is a woman who's probably sold 10 million copies of her book. Wow. It's like, oh, well, what do you write? And I'm like, imagine she sold more copies of her book than Usher sold of Confessions. You know, like being in a room, Usher's in a room with somebody else, and they're like, so what you doing? You sing? Like, for real? See what I'm saying? Like, that just would never happen.
I would know?
What was his response?
It's humble.
What was his response? What was his response when did she ever say what she wrote?
She said, yeah, I'm a writer. I don't even know if she mentioned her book, because I think on the other side of that is like a little bit of ego. Like if I'm somewhere and I sold 10 million copies of my book, like I'm like, hey, you should know who I am.
Yeah.
But also the humility, like, yeah, I write. And I'll just leave it at that. Like, if you want to figure out who it is, and then I put him to the side and was like, hey, man, homie.
Yeah.
We should know her.
Okay. So to play devil's advocate here,
Yeah.
you know, do you feel like, well, this kind of answers the question, but like somebody like R.L. Stein, right?
Yes.
Who did Goosebumps. Is
Yeah.
it the same with him?
Uh-huh.
The woman who wrote Harry Potter, is it the same for her?
Yeah.
You know, like, is it movie? Well, Stephen King, like nobody cares,
Yeah.
but I think Stephen King is more of a recluse. He's not really
Yeah.
a public figure, but like,
Yeah.
do you think if movie adaptations turn into popularized movies?
I think what it is when you're a writer, the work becomes famous, not you.
Not you.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So like J.K. Rowling, not her. You know, J.K. Rowling, I'm sure can go to the grocery store. But Harry Potter is obviously my first book was on Bloomsbury, UK, or Bloomsbury, America, which we got out of Bloomsbury, UK because of the success of J.K. Rowling. She published that book on Bloomsbury in the UK. So they had a subsidiary in America. So yeah, you say her name, everybody know her name. Just like you say Stephen King, just like you say, like they know the name, but that's not fame. That's like, I know her work, right? Like now the dude who played Harry Potter, that's fame.
That's fame. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling walked right down the red carpet like, we need a name tag for her.
Yeah.
Right,
So what do you
right,
think
right.
happened? What do you think is the difference? Because like obviously years ago you had James Baldwin. Now you said Toni
Yeah.
Morrison. You know,
Yeah.
My man who wrote The Children, David. I'm blanking on his name now. But you had some writers that were like very well known.
Yeah.
It was maybe because they were on the talk show circuit, or maybe it was just.
I think it's the one we are in the era of. Well, okay, I'll say for James Baldwin. So James Baldwin has the benefit of being around when the Black public intellectual is just coming into being, right? So if you think about before James Baldwin, we really only have W.E.B. Du Bois that people around the world know as a public intellectual, and that's
Not even Langston. Not even Langston.
Nah, not as a public intellectual. Langston as an artist, but even him, he's before Baldwin. Like Baldwin is civil rights era. He's 50s
Right.
into 60s. I mean,
Right.
really, he's early
70s.
60s into 80s, right? He dies
Right.
in, I think, 80 something.
Yeah,
But
early 80s. Yeah, he died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but the public intellectual is how Baldwin, like those debates with Norman Mailer, and you know, like he is a figure because that we care about that. Like it's hard. Well, now we got anti-intellectualism, right? So we don't care about public intellectuals in the same way that we did in the 1960s. But and so I think that it's harder to get that attention. Also, Baldwin is writing in an era where it's only 10 of them. You know, like how many of Baldwin's contemporaries can you name?
Can't.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Right? So it's a smaller pool. We care more about them. Writers are on the Dick Cavett show. They're on, you know, right? So like that's a harder thing now to do. And I think in this era where everything is here and gone, where there's a push against anti-intellectualism, like so many things like limit the writer. Like Ta-Nehisi Coates is probably the closest thing that we have to a James Baldwin, like where if he comes out with a book, he's going to be on the morning show. He's going to be on the evening show. He's going to sell out everywhere. But now think about this. Do y'all know who Colson Whitehead is?
No, not me.
Okay. Colson Whitehead is the most decorated Black writer alive.
Really?
He got the Pulitzer twice. He wrote The Underground Railroad. Nickel Boys is his book. They just put that movie out.
Yeah,
He won a Pulitzer for both of those books. He got a MacArthur Fellowship, Genius Fellowship. He won the National Book Award and the Pulitzer the same year. Like every award you can think of, he got it. Now, y'all didn't even know the man's name.
Yeah, so
You
he
say
can
I'm
definitely walk
saying,
down the
like-
street without no problems.
In Harlem.
Yeah, exactly. Have dinner and
Yeah.
all that. Nobody paying attention.
Exactly. Yeah, he all at Ricardo's.
Yeah, word. Word. No, gotta wait for his table.
Definitely gotta
Packoff's
wait.
getting the table before him.
Absolutely. He like,
Absolutely.
damn, you know what I'm saying?
Actually, Packoff's getting the table before damn near everybody.
Yeah, then everybody, yeah. Packoffs is, he get a tip for everybody, you know? Wait, I
And
want to ask you one more thing about the Ahmaud Arbery thing. Is there something in your research or doing that book and writing it, was there something that most people don't really know about that case? I mean, we know the kind of like, you know, he was jogging, the white guys chased him. Is there some other underlying thing that you might have discovered, or is it just kind of is what it is?
I think about the case, no. I think the facts were pretty widely and well known and well reported. I think for me, what I discovered in doing that story was how much that young man was loved. So so how I did the interviewing, like I did that story during the pandemic. So I never went there. All of that was over the phone. So I would be talking, the first person I talked to was his coach, the guy that started Run for My, I think Jason. I'm talking to Jason, and he's answering my questions, but it's a dude in the background that keep talking. I'm like, man, who is that? He's like, oh man, this is Maud's best friend since Sandbox. I'm like, oh man, can I talk to him? Sure. Then another day I'll talk to him. He telling me stories. Yeah, so he was with such and such. I'm like, man, who is that? Oh man, that's Maud's sister. You think he can hook me up with her? Sure, man, let me see. Then next day I'm talking to my sister. My sister said, yeah, I was talking to his girlfriend. I'm like, oh, you think you can hook me up with her? And so that's how it would go. Every one of them was telling me about another person, and they were open enough to talk to me. And I just kept hearing these stories about how much they loved him. And there's even a line in there. There's a long list at the end of the, I'm going to call it an essay or feature story. Some people call it. There's a long list at the end of it. And it's like, Ma was this, and then Ma was that, and Ma was this. And he was loved. And to me, that was like the thing that I wanted to get across. Also, not just to speak for Maud, but to speak for Leandro Castro, to speak for Eric. Like, oh, these motherfuckers are loved. Like, whatever else you think about them, they got some people that's like sad than a motherfucker because they gone. I just did this story. I didn't just do it. I guess we might have reported in 2023, but I think it came out in 2024. Story on Al Sharpton. So I was with Rev for 3 months. It's the most reporting I've ever done on a story. And one of the things that we did was he gave the eulogy at the woman who got shot through the door.
Oh, yeah.
Is it H? No, that wasn't AJ. Or maybe it was AJ. She got shot. The white woman shot her through the door in Ocala, Florida.
Yeah, that woman just got convicted, actually.
Yeah, she just got convicted, right. So we go there. Crump is there. We get in there. And Crump is like, hey, man, the family want to meet you. So then we go back into the holding area. I mean, this is like literally we get into the church and 5 minutes later, not even 5 minutes, Crump is like, hey, man, they want to meet you. So Sharpton is like, all right, cool. So we go in the back where just that woman's family and friends are. And her mother walks over to Sharpton. As soon as she meets him, she just lays her head on his shoulder. Like she knew this man her whole life. Wow. And I was just thinking, like, all these people in this room loved that young woman. Like, that's it, that, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's really like average shit. But when you reported on it, you're like, oh, it's sensational. They got killed like this. And ain't that shit sad? Yes, it is sad. And then the other part of it is there's 50 people in here that could tell you a story about what she did and didn't do and the day she did this and that. And that really, like, that connected me to the Arbery piece, because I didn't go to Ahmaud's funeral. You know, I did take his mama with me to the Pulitzer ceremony, though.
Wow.
Wow. That's cool.
You know, went to the, yeah. I was like, man, ain't no way I could go accept this shit and not honor this man in some way. I was so thankful, man. We had a good time.
Wow.
So you go from this stuff, which is
to basketball.
To basketball. Like, we got to talk about your latest book. How do you make that jump?
It's not even a jump.
Not to cut you off, but like knowing Mitch, like for me, that makes perfect sense. But again,
Okay.
I know him. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, of course he would do that. You know what I'm saying? But, but
Yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
sure, you know?
Yes, Sledge was one of my main customers, man. I had that Adidas plug. I come through Jai, make a couple $100. Did he tell y'all about this?
No.
No, I didn't
no.
actually. I didn't.
Oh, my bad.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Jive is
Well, now
gone.
you
It's
gotta
all
tell
good.
it. Yeah.
The statute of limitations has run out.
Okay, so y'all know I told you I was a hustler in my younger years, and I kept the spirit of hustling, and I had a plug at Adidas when I was in graduate school, and I would get like shipments of Adidas, and then I would go. It started off, I started going to the barbershop, but then I started going to the label, so I would go see Sledge at Jai, so I would just come with a duffel bag or something like, man, I'm here. And Sledge would call everybody down and they come get their Adidas. And then I would go to Def Jam and see Lenny S. And I would go to wherever Pecos was and go see them. I remember one time Lenny told me to come to Baseline. So I go in there and I'm in the hallway in Baseline, and it's Kaiser. These are the people that I remember. It's Kaiser, Hove, Lenny. Those are only people that I can remember seeing. And they shooting dice in the hallway. And Hove look up and he like Lenny, who is Lenny? and Lenny like, oh no, this Mitch, he cool, man. He got the Adidas. He said, you got this nigga in here selling hot merchandise? And I didn't realize at the time they was recording the Black album.
Oh, wow.
That was Black album time. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was like my move around and at the same time I was working for a magazine. So I would also be interviewing. Like I wrote, did I do you Sledge? Did you
I
do
don't
Slow?
remember. Possibly. I don't remember.
Yeah. So I used to write a lot of stories. So I know I profiled Peck. I know I profiled Lenny. A lot of people.
So you would get in there with all the Adidas stuff, and then you would interview them. That was smart.
Not. I wouldn't go in there during that time and do it, but I'm saying those relationships began with me having Adidas.
Yeah.
Also because Ebro was my boy too, so we would end up. I would be at the shit sometime with Dante and Ebro. So that was my music phase, I guess.
Yes.
But so I've always had a love for fashion. My very first piece I ever published, 2001, December, was called Almost Famous. And it was about 3 of my homeboys who almost made it to the league, but didn't. So that was my very first piece. My very first column for Esquire was about basketball. And the Esquire, my editor at Esquire is the guy who brought the Fly book to me as an idea. It was his idea for me to do it. So I've always written about sports. I've always been interested in fashion and really written about fashion too. So it did make sense if you knew me beyond Survival Math and Residue Years.
Yeah. No, is it out? It's not out yet. Is it out yet?
Which one?
The fashion book.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. We on a different run, man. Best thing that happened to me, not best, 2 exciting things that happened to me. Right after the week that Fly came out, I got an email from Adam Silver.
Oh, wow.
Adam Silver was like, I'm going to tell you what he said now, because this shit is, statute of limitations is gone. Let me see. Where did it go? Adam Silver. There we go. Dear Mitchell, I read Scoop Jackson's review of your book and immediately ordered a copy on Amazon. I loved it. We're sending copies of your book to all of our teams and partners, and I have no doubt that they'll enjoy reading it and reflecting on NBA players' influence on fashion and culture over these many decades. I can't wait for the start of the new season on and off the court. Regards, Adam.
Wow.
So for me, I was like, shit, if the commissioner of the league,
commissioner of the NBA,
like it, I did whatever I was supposed to do, I did it. And then later, my homeboy, strangely, one of my big homies, I didn't know this, was cool with Dr. J. And if you look at the book, Dr. J is all through the second era.
That was Fly.
He might be one of the fly, definitely one of the flyest dudes ever in the league. And he gave Dr. J the book, and they took a picture and he sent it to me, and I was like, That's it.
Yeah,
I don't give a fuck.
That's
What else
cool.
You good.
You got to blow that thing up and have it on the
Yeah.
wall. Yeah. Okay. So give us the rundown, the summary of this book. So this is I'm gaining that it's fashion throughout the eras of the NBA.
So it is really, to me, a cultural tableau. So it was me trying to define the eras of NBA fashion, which I didn't think that I could do without talking about the cultural, political, financial forces that created every era. So it's like from the inception of the league, or really right before that, what was happening? What were the players wearing? Why? What's the next era? Civil rights era. What are they wearing? Why? What's the next era? 1970s or so. What are they wearing? Why? What's the next era? Jordan's era. Next era, Iverson. So it's like trying to figure out, like, what are the watershed moments? Like, where is the fashion taking a turn? What is happening around that time? What images represent that turn? And then me trying to suss why it's happening. So they're really essays on different eras. I mean, they're chapters, but to me, it's essay. And y'all know the root word of essay is to try or to attempt. So they're really an attempt at me trying to make sense of different eras of fashion and what brought them into being.
Interesting. So let me ask you this then, because I'm curious about this. At what point, so we're talking about NBA fashion, right? But to me, there was a moment when we never really thought of, I think, sports fashion until all of a sudden now, on every show that you ever watch, before an NBA game, before an NFL game, all of a sudden the visual that you see is that guy walking in. When did that happen and why? How did we switch to all of a sudden that became a thing that was very important?
Well, I think we're talking about what birthed the tunnel.
The tunnel.
That's when we started, right? So the tunnel was birthed by LeBron in Miami, right? D-Wade, Chris Bosh, LeBron. That's when we start. I mean, they used to kind of show it like, you see Magic walking down the tunnel, but like to actually focus on the players coming in and the players recognizing that now the focus is on me and what I'm wearing. That is the era of the big three in Miami and also the big three in OKC. So that's
OKC.
James Harden, and I mean, we'll put KD on there, but he ain't really the fashion dude. But that is
it was really Russ and James.
Russ and James. But it wasn't even really James kind of in OKC.
Not then, right? Yeah. So Russ is really good.
Yeah, it was really Russ.
And then it got the James in Houston. Yeah,
I think it's also at the moment, and to your point, Thomas, it's like the league and the businesses started seeing that they could monetize it. So those, like when you start seeing people walk by, step and repeats, right? Like I remember seeing an old picture where Houston had like a whole step and repeat for them to come down the tunnel. I'm like, and it was Toyota. So I'm like, okay, they getting bread. They realize they can get bread now. So to me, that's a part of it, right? Like I did when the book came out. It was the first year that they had the NBA play-in tournament, and they did it in Vegas. And that was the first year they had the tunnel. So like I walked down the tunnel with them, and they had the play-in tournament trophy in the middle of the tunnel, and I was like, oh, this is a real, like they figured out how to monetize it.
Yeah. It was interesting because
also it's like I'm like, okay, once corporate America is on it, it ain't all that cool no more. So like, where you go now?
Yeah. It was interesting because it came from a backlash from Stern.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Everybody used to just go with the big tees and the big jeans and the braids and the ice. And then Stern was like mandated you had to wear a sport jacket, I think, or something. And then from that.
It was Iverson coupled with Malice in the Palace. Remember they got in that big fight, Indiana, Detroit. So yeah, it was like, oh no, y'all could very easily have us, like, you gonna fuck up the money, right? They're gonna be like, oh, these. Now think about it also though, hip hop is already maligned. Like we talking about late 80s with, Hov with the big white tees and, what I'm saying, Nelly coming out with the white, even though Nelly
Cash
wasn't
Money.
hard, like Cash Money, so like everything in hip hop, I mean, y'all know this better than me, is like trending towards. I had an interview earlier than this, and I was telling the woman, I was like, in the civil rights era, we were leaning into respectability politics, right? Like if you look at the way we dress, like slim suits, white shirts, right? Like in the hip era, people was like, fuck your respectability politics. Like, we gonna dress how we gonna dress, because y'all gonna say whatever you gonna say anyway. If we got on a suit, y'all still gonna call us a thug, so we might as well just do it how we feel. And also, it's the era where hip-hop started making real money, like not rich, but like wealth. You know, I was like, go back and whatever year that was that they first had a rapper in Forbes, right? Like, that's when I'm what is it, 1 million, 2 million, something, till I'm the 100 million man. Like, I don't know what year that was, but for me, that's
Master
like,
P,
we're
Master
turning
P was in the
wealth.
Forbes as well.
Who? Master P. That's right. That's right. Yeah, and everybody that was in Forbes was like white teeing and big chain in it, you know. So it's like, we don't gotta do that no more to get no money.
Yeah. That's a yeah.
Wow.
And that was interesting because, like I said, it's a runway level now.
Yeah,
Like, getting stuff right off the runway and wearing because you got those 4 or 5 seconds like focused on just you. So now it's become a huge ancillary business. There's big stylists that are involved now. Obviously, the fashion brands are sending guys shit because they know, I could get him to wear this for these 4 or 5 seconds, and this is like a free commercial or whatever.
Yeah, and now it's extended into the WNBA. So with the rise of the WNBA, I think the last year you saw that the fashion took a whole other level. It was crazy.
Definitely.
So, what are you working on next? What's the next big thing? Can you give us a little tease?
I'm working on a novel. It's called John of Watts, about a Black man from Watts who actually spent time in Oregon. It's based on a true story, who started a group to train at-risk youth to become elite athletes. And then it became a cult. Well, they started being really harsh with the training. They ended up becoming a cult, and his daughter was actually killed by some of the members in his cult, and they got disbanded. But it's really not back to my roots. It's fiction. It is connected to sports. He was a former basketball player. I actually tried out for the Blazers. And it's really me writing about home. That's one thing that I'm really like. Fly is kind of an aberration, not necessarily because basketball is such a big culture in Portland, but I'm committed to writing about home. Like, if you think about what Baldwin did, he was really grounded in New York City. You think about what Toni Morrison did. He's always writing about Ohio. You think about Edward P. Jones. He's writing about the DMV. You think about Faulkner. He's writing about Mississippi or a fictional town in Mississippi, right? So for me, it's like, I want to see the world through the lens of home. And this book really allows me to do that.
Fire.
All right, I got to ask you one more question.
Yeah,
emerging writers who are out there who want to get into the career of writing. Like, what advice do you have for people?
Good question.
The same thing Mickey would probably say: learn your craft.
Learn your craft, man.
I was listening to Dot do his interview with Ebro, and one of the things he said, I think I wrote it down as a quote. Let me see. I hope I did. He said, in my quotes, he said, respect the art form and it'll get you where you need to go. And I think that are you willing to put in 15 years on, and I'm not saying do it, but if you ain't willing to do it, maybe this ain't for you. And so I hear people like, man, I got a story, and I'm like, okay, everybody you see walking got a story. Like, are you willing to learn form? Are you willing to learn what a sentence is? Are you willing to learn inaugural? Are you willing to learn free and indirect discourse? Are you willing to learn the 4 or 5 or 10 templates that you need to structure this story? And like, if you not, do something else. Or don't bring it to me, because like I'm a different kind of writer. Like I'm not out here writing for the bestseller list. I'm out actually writing for eternity. You know, like what does it feel like And what do you need to do to create something that is going to exist for my kids, kids, right? And that's still speaking to what's happening with humanity. So I think that's a different thing than like the kind of immediate success that you could get with a pop hit, which I kind of like a Pulp Fiction book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that pressure comes, I remember, and no shots to her because I enjoyed her work, but I remember kind of hearing about all the stuff that Sister Soldier went through when she dropped, went Coldest Went Ever. It blew up so big. I don't know if she was prepared for it to that level. Because, everybody could option it and, make movies, and, it kind of took a toll on her because it was such a big book, Pause.
And she was pioneering in that sense because she was the first one to push through. Like, she really did. I mean, we wouldn't have had them tables on 125th without Sister Soldier. Yeah, definitely.
Everybody read Coldest Winter Ever. Like, everybody read that book.
What was the one that came after her? She's still around. Terry Woods. Remember her?
Wow. From Philly. Yeah. Terry Woods. Wow, I forgot about her. Yeah. She got a couple of joints made in the films too. Wow. That's right. Terry Woods.
Yeah.
Wow. Yep. That was the whole thing.
So what classes do you teach at Arizona State? Let's bring it back to where we started.
Man, well, the beauty of teaching now is I teach one class a semester.
Oh.
So right now I'm teaching fiction writing workshop. Yeah. Man, listen, man,
workshop.
in New York, I used to teach sometimes up to 9 classes at 3 or 4. Before I was a full-time faculty at NYU, I would be teaching at Medgar Evers, John Jay, NYU, and College of New Rochelle. The Sledge used to see me coming out of College of New Rochelle up there in the Studio Museum. And that's running around, deep in Brooklyn. Y'all know where Medgar Evers is. Then running all the way back up to Harlem. Then running down to NYU, then going to 57th Street. I was doing that shit for like 7-10 years, moving around like that. That's why I had to have them Adidas.
There you go. See, now you got writer's fame.
Right, exactly.
One class at Arizona State.
Yeah. The Pulitzer Prize got you down to one class now. You good. You feel it out.
There we go.
You chilling, man.
That was a master class in writing right there.
It was. It was.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, Mitchell, thank you, man. I could sit here and listen to you talk all day long, and I got to go get this book now. Fly.
Yeah, man, check it out. Let me know what y'all think, man.
Absolutely.
Same effort into that. Like I was thinking, like, Mickey, I remember hearing you, like, Sledge brought me on, like, I don't know, 20 years ago, 18, something like that. And just like, you can hear when somebody care about the language. Like, forget the rapping, like when somebody actually cares about language and the art form. And for me, that's across everything. Like, it's in Fly, it's in any column you read of mine. There's a column that I did on Kanye. It was some crazy shit he did like 2 or 3 years ago. And
that doesn't help us narrow it down right there.
All right, hold on. I want y'all to hear this because I want you to know what I mean. Let me see. Kanye Esquire Mitchell. There we go. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the title of the essay is, you are a racist by proxy. I should have republished this shit. He doing the same shit right now.
Yeah, he's doing it again. Yeah.
This is the opening. Yeah. You're a trolling provocateur par excellence. Yeah. You're a free thinker and iconoclast even. Yeah. You've released hella great music over the years. Tsunami, many a fashion wave. Yeah. Kudos to the activist bent of Bush don't care about black people. Yeah. Big facts, Beyonce should have won. Yeah. Points for the benevolence of the Donda Academy. Yeah. You reached that Billy round with the big homie. Yeah. We should consider the mania of your mental health struggles. Yeah. The trauma of a near-death crash. Yes, oh yes. Deep compassion for the eternal hurt of losing your mother. That's how that starts. And if I were to break that down, like, in my mind, y'all remember that song, it's Burna Boy's first hit. yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know
Okay,
that
yeah.
that shit got big because people thought it was a Kanye song and they were searching it in Apple Music for
I didn't
Kanye.
know that. I didn't know
That's
that.
how I got picked. So that chorus was in my head when I was doing the yeah. So for me, like, that's a column. That I didn't have to do that for a column, but for me, it's like if you're not willing to put that kind of work in on a column, then don't do it. Or don't come talking to me about writing. Talk to somebody else who ain't gonna do that.
Yeah, gonna give you the basics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Mitchell, honestly, man, we need an article on Pendulum Inc.
Yeah.
And it should be about they care about the language. I mean, I don't see
That's
why
a
not.
great point.
You know, because I gotta send you one because we really care about the language. You know.
Yeah. Send me. I'll text you.
I got you.
You better get him a book, Mickey.
You know, I'm gonna get him a book. You know, I'm gonna get him.
He will. I'll make sure you get a book if he doesn't make sure you get a book.
Yeah. But yeah,
All
man,
right.
I enjoy hanging out with y'all, man. I respect
great.
y'all brothers, man. You
Yeah.
know, like you my day one NY. You basically my day two. Shit.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Half my life I didn't know you.
Well, yeah, for real. It's been a
that's
long
crazy.
time. Yeah. I'm glad we did this. I'm not gonna
me
come out to Arizona to check you out, but next time you come,
Yeah, come with me, man.
Arizona. All right, I'll give it a shot for you.
Sledge in Arizona.
Restaurants.
Okay.
You got the weather. You got
Yeah,
a
the
little bit of
weather.
shopping if you want to do the boutique shit.
Yeah.
And
don't know.
just come out. Like,
They got
This is the travel and tourism page for Arizona right here.
they got the Suns. They got the Suns, I guess.
Yeah.
got the
and
Suns.
Yeah,
the
the Suns.
The Cardinals. You know what I'm saying? There's something out there. Something out there.
it ain't ATL, man, but you know, we
it's
all
a
right.
little something though. It's a little something though. You know.
It's all right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it, bro.
All right, man. Later.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, folks. That's our show. Tune in to Unglossy, Decoding Brand and Culture on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And follow us on Instagram at UnglossyPod to join the conversation.
Until next time, I'm Tom Frank.
I'm Jeffrey Sledge.
Smicky!
That was good.